So, we know Scorpio as a brooding, complex sign, intense sign. But luckily, this intensity and internal complexity does not prevent Scorpios from having ventures and quests and cross-cultural experiences, things we normally associate with the next sign of Sagittarius. This is only logical if you keep in mind that the 3 stages of aging and development that Scorpio has to go through includes 30 years where they have to learn to live like a Sagittarius, which are then followed by 30 years where they have to learn to live like a Capricorn. And this is what I will be talking about in this video. I am Nadia, the astrologer for people who do not believe in astrology but can still enjoy it and have fun with it. And I am the author of this Adulting by the Zodiac series of videos. If you're new to this channel and you find the concept of astrology for non-believers intriguing and maybe a little bit interesting, this is the video that I made where I talk about it in a bit more detail. I will also put the link in the video description. And if you want to hear more about this concept of adulting and those different stages, this is another video that I made where I talk about that in more detail. And yes, the link will be also down there. But very short, what this whole adulting thing is about is that everyone has the thing that's called the progressed sun, which as we age, as we mature, moves a little bit along the zodiac. It starts out at the sign you were born with your sun in, and then it moves into the next sign for 30 years and then into the next sign. And then the first stage is astrological kindergarten. You learn to be your sign. The second stage, astrological school, you learn to be the next sign, usually a little bit difficult. And then the next one is astrological university. You learn to be the sign after the next one. It's usually a little bit easier than this second stage. I apologize with the delay with posting this video. I was very preoccupied with my thesis, and then I had a killer cold. And now I'm practically healthy, so I can do the video and I will return to working on my thesis, but I may still have some like nose and throat thing. Apologize for that too. That out of the way, let's finally talk about the Scorpios. So Scorpios are born on the days between the 23rd of October and 21st of November, but like any other sign, of course, they also have this those special cases where sometimes, in some rare cases, people born on the 22nd of October and 22nd of November may also sometimes have their sun in Scorpio. If this is you, double check. Get yourself a natal chart. Just make sure that your sun was in the sign that you know about yourself. Now, let's go stage by stage. The astrological kindergarten is when your progressed sun is still moving through your native sign. This stage can last anywhere from 0 years to 30 years, depending on your date of birth. And, well, depending on your date of birth, this is how long it's going to last in your life, approximately, if you're a Scorpio. And at this first stage, little Scorpios are already very Scorpionic, and they are very much able to intimidate even the parents of, other children with how penetrating and unchildlike their eyes may look like. In general, when they listen more than they talk, those people they are looking at may feel like the little Scorpio is assessing their weaknesses or is just hating on them. Something about the eyes that a lot of people find, uncomfortable. There's also this paradox with emotionality that they have. So they are very emotional. But despite the turbulent displays of those emotions that, are often present in the Scorpio household, their inner world may remain a mystery, even to their parents, people who spend so much time with them. So something real is kept inside, even though so much is like overflowing and completely like makes itself seen. And another paradox also with emotions is that they are very sensitive. And you would expect people who are very sensitive emotionally to also maybe be sensitive to the feelings of other people and maybe take them into consideration. But no, at this first stage, they're first dealing with their own intense emotions and are usually overwhelmed with them and are a little bit like secretive about them as well. And as for empathy, they will learn it, but it is a learning process. It takes time. It's not super easy, but it's one of the tasks. And at this first stage, they are very often withdrawn, not all the time, but when they are involved in pursuing their own interests or working on their private projects, which they usually have and which they usually feel very protective about. So I would not recommend, forcing communication on a Scorpio child who is, involved in something, or taking their things without asking them. That's a big no-no. They're usually also more, maybe not usual, right? But more often than other children, they already at this young age are discovering themselves to be night owls. And they usually have also lots of interests that keep them through the early night before they fall asleep. So they can read or like be really, really immersed in some, I don't know, movies or games or something. And they love mysteries. They love knowledge, especially if it seems like they have the real knowledge, unlike, other people. And they also have respect for things that have survived death. What I mean with that is like archaeology or myths and legends, something that is retro. In general, sometimes it seems that their interests have been born long before they themselves were born. And usually earlier than many other children, they understand the pleasures of pursuing their own, little projects, and also the taste of success from when they are able to impress others. So usually they are moderately popular children with well-defined interests and ability to impress others. Like they can be like a school child who knows the names of the bones of the body and is able to pinpoint, where they are on the bodies of their classmates and impress them with that or, something like that. They also have a need to come out as a winner, so prove to themselves that they are superior to other people. So when those other people are winning at something in which the Scorpio guy or girl are not particularly strong at, they feel the need to poison that competition or, discard those achievements. To not come out as a loser in some competition. Another maybe also unpleasant thing about being a little Scorpio is that they view advice from well-meaning people with suspicion. One of the reasons why is that they do not have respect for people they think are weak or stupid. But they also don't trust people who think that they themselves are weak or stupid, or when they think that those people think that they're weak or stupid. So very often it it translates into them not trusting many people, or maybe not no one at all. And sometimes they even have problems believing that their parents are their real parents. So they would really like suspect that maybe there are no pictures of my mother pregnant, or maybe they're fake pictures. Maybe I have some other parents who are more real parents than those very like banal and not real enough parents. Anyway, this more like dramatic and deep and brooding section of their life sooner or later comes to an end. The progressed sun is moving into the next sign of Sagittarius, and with that begins the second stage of aging, the astrological school, where they learn to live a little bit like Sagittarius and do Sagittarius things. And depending on your date of birth, this is which 30 years of your life this stage is going to occupy, if you're a Scorpio. So Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto, but here I'm talking about Mars. And Scorpio is the sign of depth, and Mars is the planet of fire. So if you take this fire and you put it somewhere deep, like underground or underwater, like a volcano or a geyser, at some point it will need to come out. But first, the person would ideally learn some civilized ways of expressing this fiery energy. Again, in the ideal scenario, the ways to express this energy are creativity or martial arts or romantic pursuits or academic competition or, successes in business also counts. And it's very appropriate to do some of that or all of that at this stage, because Sagittarius is a fiery sign. And if you combine the fiery energy of Mars and the fiery energy of a fire sign, then it makes it easier for this fire to come out. And this like internal fire and the Scorpio's passion to live a real life are pushing Scorpios at this stage to seek adventure and very intense real experiences, and having some experiences that are, slightly on the edge. Those experiences make it easier for them to feel like they are truly alive. And this feeling of being truly alive, they find very rewarding, and they can actually really achieve it at this second stage. If this second stage starts when they are still children, this is very possible, then they can get into, for example, eating spicy food or doing some like acrobatic tricks or risky behavior, or just creating problems, to be honest, right? And the more mature they are at this stage, the more mature, ways of expressing this fire energy becomes. Both Scorpio and Sagittarius crave victory, and neither of them has much respect for very like official conventional competition, or for people who obey rules and only do what is needed and asked of them. So at this stage they may invent unofficial competitions and some like contests that maybe people are not even knowing that the Scorpio is competing with somebody else. And they want to be leaders in whatever they themselves think is now the thing that is now important in comparison to other people. Also, Sagittarius is the sign of spirituality and intellectual pursuits. And at this stage, the Scorpio may also share those interests in like spirituality, the occult, and mysticism, but at the same time, they may have the need to rationalize and intellectualize everything. And there is a conflict there and a contradiction. But the result is that they, at this stage, they think a lot, and they also may teach to others and explain the world to others as well, and often quite successfully. And also, unlike the first stage, where they were mostly interested in what's inside of them, they now develop a strong, real interest in the world, in the people, culture, you know, in something that is not immediately next to them, but is maybe far away. At this stage, they also develop the traditional Sagittarian interests in morality and ethics, and they think a lot about the meaning of things, right? But the conclusions that they reach are unlikely to be overly moralistic. And I think that this is because of the animal nature of both Scorpio and Sagittarius, which prevents them from, being too sanctimonious. Also, at this stage, their sexuality often flourishes and they become more sexually attractive and maybe even active than in the previous stage. But this stage is also at some point coming to an end, and the progress sun is moving to the next sign of Capricorn. And the third stage, at astrological university, begins. It lasts also 30 years, and depending on your date of birth, this is which 30 years of your life this Capricorn stage will occupy, if you're Scorpio. So one thing that attracts both Scorpios and Capricorns is power. And yes, in the beginning of their life, Scorpios may have been attracted to very unreliable forms of power, like sexual power over another person, or ability to manipulate people with some like emotionally manipulative techniques. But the practical nature of Capricorn is at this stage guiding the Scorpio out of the realm of interpersonal drama into the areas where success can be noticeable, at least to the community and ideally to the society at large. And at this stage, Scorpios are supposed to convert the rich experience they could gather into some conventional worldly success. And then everything comes into play. They're like results of their obsessive youthful hobbies and passions, their familiarity with the shadow side of life, the knowledge and insight they gathered from travels and studies and like intercultural experience. At this stage, the Scorpios also seem to be reborn or reformed, and very often it's because Capricorn instills in them the aspiration for high status and the sense of responsibility for other people and sometimes even other generations. So this once unstable Scorpio is now turning into someone who is preferring practicality and realism to their emotional ups and downs, and someone who switches their focus from their private projects to something that will survive after they are dead, which is very fitting for someone who was starting out with a strong interest in something that has survived somebody else's death. So to sum it up, what those three stages are about. First, the Scorpio is faced with their own intense emotionality and is sometimes overwhelmed by it. At the second stage, the fiery qualities of Scorpio come out, and they also try to think about life and understand life and make sense of it. And at the third stage, they find practical applications to what they have learned and achieve, best case scenario, worldly success. Well, that was it about the Scorpio. I will edit out all of my coughing, and hopefully the video will be out soon. The other videos, there's 3 more signs to go, will be out end of November, beginning of December, something like this. And I have 2 other series in store. See you with the next video.